What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet. The brother who told you you probably should not be taking those special vitamins to get those 24-inch pythons, but you did it anyway, and now your ass is finally worm food. And I am black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. So, during my travels, while I was out of town and visiting my family, I saw that the very popular pro wrestler Hulk Hogan passed away. And in his passing, obviously, you're going to have people, remembering all the memories that they have of him, good and bad. Most people are going to remember, their childhood. If they're big pro wrestling fans back in the 80s or even in the 90s, Hulk Hogan was a big part of that. So, people are going to remember that. But people are also going to remember just how much of a dirtbag and how much of a devil that Hulk Hogan was behind the scenes. So during this time, during these few weeks or whatever, after he passed away, I noticed that I saw a lot of black people on social media actually like arguing back and forth as to whether, like, if anyone had anything negative to say about Hulk Hogan, like, should people even bring that up after he passed away? And I don't see why not. When a black celebrity passes away, people talk about the negative stuff first. If a black celebrity who had any type of negative story about them or any type of criminal past or whatever, that's the first thing people bring up when that black person passes away. So why not should it be done for these white celebrities who pass away? And Hulk Hogan was not anyone special. The most positive thing I could say about him when he passed away was, damn, he outlived a lot of his peers. That's the most positive thing I could say about him because most of his peers are already dead. I'm talking about like people like, the Macho Man, Andre the Giant, the Ultimate Warrior, the Iron Sheik, even though Mean Gene Okerlund has passed away. A lot of those guys have passed away. And Hulk Hogan actually outlived all of them. I guess if that's something to be proud of, that's something he could kind of hang his do-rag on, right? But, other than that, there's really not much I can really say about him in a positive fashion. Now, listen, I am a big pro wrestling fan. I grew up with pro wrestling. I lived in a town where some very famous pro wrestlers come from. I even have some famous pro wrestlers that went to my high school. I even have friends who grew up to become pro wrestlers. Okay, so I've always kind of been around it. And like I said, I'm just a big fan. I always went to the live shows, just had a great time. And just like you, yes, I watched Hulk Hogan back in the day. Now, he was not my favorite wrestler, but, he was still very entertaining to watch. I thought it was a lot of BS, but that was the joy of it. It was like watching a live action comic book or a live action cartoon. That's what pro wrestling was in the 80s. It was funny, right? It was meant to be fun and just bigger than life. So I can understand there might be some people, I guess, that have like really good memories of watching Hulk Hogan hulking up in the ring and dropping the big leg drop on bad guys or lifting up Andre the Giant. I get that. But what people need to understand, though, at the end of the day, wrestling that's not his real personality, right? Hulk Hogan is a character that he is playing. The person's name is Terry Bollea, all right? That's his real name, all right? So you maybe that would be a smarter way to have this so-called debate as to whether we should talk about the bad things that this person did, because it's like, okay, the character Hulk Hogan that everyone knows was something that people loved, right? But Terry Bollea was an asshole, even to the point where other wrestlers don't even like him. Like, that's what I don't understand. It's like, okay, you're out here wanting to defend this person, and there are people who work with this person directly who hate his guts, and you want me to have sympathy for him. There are wrestlers who were probably spitting and dancing on his grave the day he died, right? Like, if you just think about some of the wrestlers that dealt with him who have passed on, like Macho Man had beef with Hogan before he passed away. The Ultimate Warrior had beef with Hogan. You can go look up those videos on social media, right? Bret the Hitman Hart had beef with Hulk Hogan. And even if it wasn't just like full on beef, like even just like little things, because Hogan was somebody that only worked for himself, right? And in that business, you need a community of people to go along with it, obviously, because a lot of it is an act. But he was all about himself making money, and he would sabotage other wrestlers when it came to how much money he was getting and how much money everyone else was getting paid. He was only concerned about himself. That's why he was so successful monetarily with wrestling, and everyone else was struggling. Now, some people might say that that's okay and it's everybody for themselves. Like, all right, but you don't have to be an asshole too. Like that. That's the problem I have with people like that. It's like, okay, yeah, do what you need to do to make yourself successful, but please do not be out here throwing monkey wrenches in my run and my success. Because, yeah, at that point, you're making an enemy out of me. And whatever professional courtesy that you want to put out there for the public, behind the closed doors and behind the scenes, you're trying to, what they say in the wrestling business is, you're trying to bury me. And I mean, when it comes to the wrestling business, you don't want to be buried. You want to be out there. You want a good push. You want to be out there in front, so that way you can make money. And Hulk Hogan buried a lot of people's careers, or at least he tried. Even if they did become successful, eventually he would try to. And if you look at his history, not only in the WWE, which was once the WWF, but later on when he went to WCW, he did a lot of the same politicking behind the scenes. Like, we get it. We get it, you're famous. We get it that you're a star attraction. But please don't F up my career just so you can make money and make yourself look good. And Hogan was one of those people, like, he's one of those old people that didn't want to stand out of the way for new talent and didn't want to promote a lot of new talent. He wanted to stay on top forever, even when he was slowing down and couldn't perform like he used to. When he was falling apart or had spinal injuries or whatever, he still wouldn't want to move aside for the younger group that was coming up behind him. And I don't like people like that either. You're supposed to be a teacher and a mentor for those who come behind you. You're not supposed to just try to hoard all of the finances and all the glory just for yourself. So for all the people out there who have a problem with me talking bad about Terry Bollea, once again, all you gotta do is go look up videos and see other wrestlers talking about him and talking about the real person, not Hulk Hogan. They're talking about Terry Bollea, the real person that they were dealing with, not the character that was, hulking up in the ring and dropping the big leg. All right. So if that's your memory of him, if that was your childhood, okay, fine, but you still have to be realistic about what type of person that you were dealing with, and that that was the actor, that was the movie. But if you're dealing with someone who's in real life is a scumbag, then that's just what it is. And some people need to learn how to mature out of a lot of that nonsense, okay? And stop getting all butthurt when you hear people criticize and talk about some of the things that your hero in a movie said in real life. So anyway, you folks let me know how you feel about it in the comment section, and I'd love to hear your opinions on this story. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on the devil's back.